A journey through Lapland is a fascinating experience. Here the forests are full of enchantment and adventure. The extreme north of Finland is full of natural splendor. The uniqueness of this wonderful region was recognized in 1938 when Pallas Unastunturi was designated as a national park. Measuring around 500 square kilometers, the Pallas Unastunturi National Park is the third largest in Finland. In the few warm months of the year, the local flora awakens in the vast fjall areas of the famous nature reserve. Little vegetation would normally be expected in such northern climes as this, but the variety of plants here is truly amazing. In summer, Lapland's exceptional flora is in full bloom. Little hints at its close proximity to the polar circle. Many who come here are attracted by the long and virtually traffic-free roads that lead through this wilderness. Due to its exceptional range of winter sports activities, the small holiday resort of Sirkka has become extremely popular in the winter months. In addition to its recreational value, it also has much cultural and historic significance. In summer, the large empty spaces and vacated houses of Sirkka are like a beautiful ghost town. This journey in Scandinavia continues north to our next destination. Extending for 2,855 square kilometers, the Lemmenjoki National Park is the largest nature reserve in Finland. It's also one of the largest uninhabited forest areas in Europe. Here, a boat trip is a must. The boat travels slowly across the glassy surface of the water. Seemingly endless forests flash by in the Lemmenjoki National Park that was named after the river of the same name. In order to reach the nature reserve's most popular attraction, sightseers must leave the boat and continue by foot. A short walk leads to our destination. Close to Lake Ravadasjärvi, foaming white water shoots down the Ravadasköngäs waterfall. This impressive waterfall is situated at the confluence of the Lemmenjoki and Ravadasjoki Rivers in a readily accessible section of the park. A much larger area of the park consists of pure wilderness, untouched forests that stretch out far across the border with nearby Norway. At over 70 kilometres, the Lemmenjoki is the largest river in this region. Its shoreline contains both deciduous and coniferous forests. An increasing number of houses indicates the proximity of the small village of Lemmenjoki, starting point of this boat trip. The journey across Lapland travels further north, past forests inhabited by the indigenous and rare brown bear. Lake Inari, also known as Uninhabited, is not only a beautiful area, but also a sacred place for the Sami people. Several ancient cult locations highlight the special importance of Inari Lake for Lapland's Sami people. The boat journey demonstrates the huge dimensions of the Finnish landscape. Appearing from the middle of the 1,400 square kilometre lake is the small sacred island of Ukonkivi, an ancient place of sacrifice for the Sami. The Sami retained their religious beliefs and ceremonies far longer than many other of the early inhabitants of southern Scandinavia. Ukonkivi Island is now an integral part of the lake's popular sightseeing tours. With more than 3,000 islands, Finland's third largest lake is like a vast collection of many smaller lakes. At the end of the boat trip on Lake Inari, various remote houses appear from the forests. Finnish Lapland, particularly that part that is north of the polar circle, is sparsely populated. The small town of Inari is the administrative centre of a huge rural district that covers 17,000 square kilometres. Half of the 7,200 inhabitants of Inari are of Sami blood, and thus it's hardly surprising that there's now a museum dedicated to their culture and their history. Long before the inauguration of the Sami Museum and the Northern Lapland Nature Centre in 1999, this open-air museum already featured the everyday life of the Sami people of bygone times. In the 7 hectares of Siida, those who come here can delve into the former way of life of the Sami. To protect it from wild animals, a secure storage area for food was vital for survival in this harsh and isolated region. These storage structures, situated above the ground, date back to the time when the Sami people had chosen to settle rather than to continue their nomadic life. In addition to 2 small settlements that were originally located in the Tiro area west of Inari, there are also a great deal of old artifacts exhibited here. A typical traditional cooking hut can also be visited in the Siida Open Air Museum. To protect themselves from Lapland's less desirable inhabitants, the Sami developed various clever devices such as this wolf trap. The museum provides an interesting overview of each of the most important Sami tribes and their colourful history. With its fascinating collection of buildings, the open-air museum is located on historic land. It's believed that this area was first inhabited in the Stone Age. Journey through Lapland travels south. Here, there is much solitude. The roads are empty, and the houses are few and far between. The Tankavaara settlement owes its fame to a legendary gold village. In the 1930s, there was a great gold rush here. The historic buildings stir the imagination. They're evocative of those in the legendary Wild West of North America. Here, the gold rush is a highly significant feature, as Tankavaara contains the only gold prospectors museum in Europe. This museum village contains many original and highly detailed replicas of the most famous gold mining villages in the world. In 1836, almost 3 decades before the famous gold rush in the Klondike, gold fever broke out in Lapland. It was then that a police inspector discovered 2 rocks with gold veins at the mouth of the Lemmenjoki River. That discovery heralded the beginning of a huge rush for gold. Gold prospecting played an important role in Tankavaara, and even now there are those who hope to make a lucky strike. However, today it is mainly tourists who try their luck for a few hours or days and utilize their gold panning skills in nearby mountain streams, hoping for some golden nuggets. A number of old photographs bring back memories of the latter part of the 19th century, when the area around Lemmenjoki was once worked by 600 gold prospectors. The journey travels across the incredible wilderness that is Lapland. Our next destination is an invisible geographical border. Napapeli, the polar circle that marks the division of the polar zones from the temperate zones, is now a popular tourist destination. The distance to each of the world's famous capital cities is clearly marked and serves to emphasize the remoteness of this desolate region. (2,603 kilometers divide the polar circle from the North Pole. But another legendary location that attracts people from all over the world is only a few steps away. The Santa Claus Village, just outside Rovaniemi, enchants both young and old alike. The Santa Claus of today owes his appearance mainly to North American literature and illustrations. And over the course of time, more and more imaginary details have been added to his hectic way of life. In the 1920s, Finland's newspapers wrote that Santa Claus's home should be in Lapland, as the North Pole was much too cold for his reindeer. Today, the Santa Claus Village has a well-organized, though highly commercial infrastructure, with an all-year-round official Santa Claus office, various shops, and a Christmas post office. "80 kilometers southeast of Rovaniemi is our next destination on this journey across Lapland. With a population of around 5,000 inhabitants, the town of Ranua. The Ranua Zoo is the most northerly animal park in the world. It houses several indigenous animals, some of which are endangered species. The golden eagle is one of the most beautiful birds in Finland, and the park also contains many other large birds. Some of Finland's largest waterfowl are to be found here, including several varieties of wild goose and elegant swans. In addition to the polar bear, the brown bear also attracts a lot of attention due to its fascinating antics. Around 60 species of Arctic animal live in the Ranua Wildlife Park, some tiny and harmless, and others with a somewhat questionable character. The park also contains the famous and once almost extinct wild reindeer, which at first glance is not unlike the indigenous reindeer. From the depths of the wilderness, civilization, the journey continues to the most densely populated area in Lapland. Rovaniemi, the region's capital city, has a population of only around 60,000. The Evangelic Lutheran Church of Rovaniemi is one of the largest in Finland. From the center of Rovaniemi to its borders, the distance varies between 45 and 95 kilometres. The city's main church was the fourth to be built on this site. As with most of the city's buildings, its predecessor was destroyed in the Second World War. Generous donations from various evangelistic Lutheran communities in both America and Sweden made it possible to build a new church that was completed in 1950 and designed by architect Bertil Liljeqvist. As a result of 2 world wars, 604 dead soldiers found their final resting place in the cemetery behind the church. A tragic chapter in Finnish history. At the other end of the Heroes Cemetery, there's a monument that commemorates those who died during their evacuation to Sweden in the Second World War. Finland's most famous architect, Alvar Aalto, influenced the township of Rovaniemi with the creation of several buildings, including a library. After the Second World War, a completely new city emerged. In 1965, the city's Kiesto Library was completed that today contains a valuable collection of Lap literature. Alvar Aalto has a further architectural gem, the Lapia Talo or Lapia Hall. It contains an assembly hall and also a theatre. The city's third and most important building is the City Hall, the Kaupungin Talo, that contains around 200 offices, 17 meeting rooms, and whose stunning architecture attracts much attention. On warm summer days, the pedestrianised zone of Rovaniemi has a southern ambience. Several cafes and a central shopping street provide a leisurely atmosphere. Rovaniemi is well known for its shops. They range from high-class traditional Lap arts and crafts to the latest fashions. The Arcticum Science Centre and Museum offers an interesting insight into a variety of subject matter. One of the city's earliest landmarks is the Lumberjacks candle bridge that spans the Lemmenjoki River and was completed in 1989. Its strange name is derived from the fact that at night its structure is brightly illuminated and looks as though it's lit by candles. Beneath the spectacular bridge, the torrential Unaskoski merges with the much larger and gentler Lemmenjoki River. Rovaniemi is a lively place with brand new hotels and a good range of entertainment and culture. The journey across Lapland, the legendary land of the midnight sun, gradually draws to an end. The extreme north of Finland is truly one of the most unspoilt natural landscapes in the world.